We'll keep talking politics tonight. In Your Vote 2024, the age of the presidential candidates is front and center this election cycle. Today, former President Donald Trump turned 78 years old. Both Mr. Trump and President Joe Biden are trying to steer discussion to other key issues. Julia Benbrook joining us live from the White House tonight to explain. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, people have been wishing Donald Trump happy birthday all week, singing to him at a rally in Las Vegas and during his visit to Capitol Hill yesterday. But the former president has joked that he wants to pretend his birthday doesn't exist. This as polling has shown that Americans are concerned about the age of the presidential candidates. Former President Donald Trump is celebrating a big birthday, bringing the topic of age back to the forefront on the campaign trail.
You know, there's a certain point at which you don't want to hear happy birthday. You just want to pretend the day doesn't exist.
He's turning 78, the same age his opponent, President Joe Biden, turned shortly after winning the election in 2020. Concerns about Biden's fitness for office have followed him ever since, but Trump said his opponent's age isn't a problem.
Joe Biden's not too old to be president. I know a lot of people that are older than him and they're at the top of their game. It's not even close. But he is too incompetent and he is too corrupt.
A recent poll shows that more than half of U.S. adults believe both candidates are too old to serve another term.
These guys are 3 years apart. Both of them are older, and both of them have had stumbles in public, there's no doubt. But I would say that, you know, that's about a draw.
Another survey shows that even though the two are just a few years apart, voters have more reservations about the 81-year-old Biden's abilities than Trump's.
It's not just a Trump campaign, it's our own visual eyes seeing Joe Biden's cognitive decline in front of us. And so, yeah, that's going to continue to get highlighted.
Now, if he wins, Trump would be the oldest president at his swearing in at 78 years and 219 days, surpassing Biden's previous record of 78 years and 61 days. Now, if Biden is reelected, he, of course, would break his own record. Reporting live at the White House, Julia Benbrook, WISH TV.